So, for today's video, I thought I will discuss the YouTube channel, The School of Life. For those of you that don't know, there is a YouTube channel called The School of Life that has the purpose of enforcing forms of blind positivity or blind pacifism. Dorothy, I'm not playing. There is, for those of you that don't know, a YouTube channel called The School of Life, as I just explained, about general and downright insultingly misguided positivity. But what do I mean by this? The School of Life is a channel of over 1 million subscribers. It has a lot of quality per video, and it does, well, it looks like it does a lot of research. However, per video they are always mocking or misguiding people's opinions of any form of negativity or criticism, without giving any form of negativity or criticism a chance to defend itself. I would like to go a bit deeper, but I can hardly do enough research on this channel. I have been offended by this channel more than enough, personally and non-personally, to know for a fact. I don't even need to do any research. It is a downright insultingly badly researched channel. I'll bring up an example. They bring up the idea of bullying being the result of the quote-unquote bully projecting, or rather quote-unquote projecting, their anger against other people. As we all know, bullies do not act like this in any way, shape or form. Bullies are merely predators like that in a normal ecosystem, taking an advantage, or any number of things. But bullies are certainly not a response or a result of quote-unquote projecting. However, the School of Life, in a seemingly infinite amount of ignorance, is constantly pushing beliefs like angry, violent, or even destructive people are quote-unquote self-destructive and are doing all these destructive things out of anything from projecting, being mistreated, not being educated, not being intelligent, being a lower class or lower form of life form, not being a good person, or even downright being possessed by the devil himself. The School of Life is proof positivity or positive people cannot be trusted. It's not just a matter of being against negativity, no, they're against criticism as well, as their videos are all about not siding with any form of negative person, not playing devil's advocate, and they never reply to any comment that is even remotely neutral, let alone negative and pointing out a bad thing like themselves. Rather, they reply, if any, to commenters who are positive and stupid as themselves. The School of Life, it needs to be brought up as it's been around on YouTube for many years, has been downright offensive against all forms of multidimensional thought and thinking. If I can wish for one thing today, if I was given a wish, it would be for this channel to be destroyed, the School of Life as a channel to be completely destroyed. They are based around a form of blind conformity that all forms of negativity or criticism or being destructive or anger or any quote-unquote negative emotion is somehow something to mock or something to ignore, or perhaps worse, is the result of a bad person, as if negativity is not the truth in any form. They don't take into account a negative person's being negative as the person, for example, themselves, are the problem, and the angry or negative person is pointing out the other person as being a bad thing. They are the sort of people to want everything to be happy and for there to be no forms of criticism. So the School of Life should be what people in this day and age hate the most, as opposed to SJWs being hated by atheism and conservatism, or atheism and conservatism being hated by SJWs, or scientifically minded people versus the atheistic, or creationism versus Scientology, or Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton. It shouldn't be all these different demographics versus all these other demographics. And you have a YouTube channel like the School of Life spreading a type of blind conformity. Instead of actually playing devil's advocate or trying to understand the reason why a person will be angry or negative or have any negative emotion, be it sadness or fear or self-loathing, or any emotion that is deemed negative or is deemed as bad, instead of actually trying to understand the person, they are trying to say the person is mentally broken or deserves to be put in a mental hospital. That is another bad thing about its YouTube channel, The School of Life. They're too psychiatric. It's such a bad word it can't even be pronounced in the human tongue. They are too psychiatric, or psychiatrist and psychiatrist trusting. A psychiatrist is a person of authoritarianism and conformity. If you do not believe me, you can check up and watch many YouTube videos that are explaining the problems of psychiatry, or you can do a bit of research in history books over the many hundreds of years of psychiatrists being bad people, how they are nothing more than misogynistic, racist, homophobic, scumbags. But I can tell you here with certainty, you can do all the research and it will all say psychiatrists are bad people. The School of Life is proof, or rather it is proof of psychiatry being misguided at least. Meanwhile, psychiatry is being shown as being the influence for the School of Life, and a sort of pre-existing pre-causality. The School of Life thinks of all forms of negativity or anger or criticism as something as a result of a mental problem, or as a mental disability, or as people who do not have full access to their mind, or for being childish, or for being man-children, or being quote-unquote toxic, a word that is often used by the SJWs or millennials, despite the word toxic in such a context not being valid. I'm just joking, Dottie. The School of Life, as I've just explained, is a problem as the human species is easily dictated and manipulated by such channels of such a conformity or quality of video. It gets a lot worse. All their videos are done in a form of animation, so they are not showing themselves, instead of preferring to be anonymous. I would have to point out in a later video, or point out here, there's nothing uniquely or downright wrong with being anonymous on the internet. It is just a matter of having, just so long as you can be replied to, it's not all that bad. Damn it, Dottie. Just so long as you can be replied to, you can be as anonymous as you want, other than the fact you need to be replied to for the purposes of criticism. However, if you cannot be replied to, and you are anonymous, that is, like the School of Life, a problem, as if you are wrong, and somebody needs to point out and criticise you for being wrong, they cannot. Which brings me to the reason why criticism is a good thing. Criticism is pointing out a bad thing, and speaking out against said bad thing, directly or sort of indirectly. However, the School of Life, instead of listening or understanding or realising, instead The School of Life is based on saying that people who are angry because they are nothing more than man-children, or in a toxic relationship, or they are modern-day Neanderthals, even though Neanderthals are equal to or greater than Homo sapien, and the Homo Neanderthal died due to being too big and having a brain that's too big. I'll have to touch up about that in the paleontology video. I grew up on paleontology as well as many things like Star Trek and Doctor Who, so I'm looking forward to making such a video in the future to come. The School of Life is spreading this constant amount of misinformation. For every video they make, they are teaching, or quote-unquote teaching, to millions of people. There's a cat going upstairs. The School of Life is constantly teaching all this large amount of misinformation to all these millions of subscribers per video, and perpetuating misinformation and downright complete crap. The School of Life is a problem that needs to be dealt with immediately. So to the School of Life I say, please, for the love of God, stop. You are spreading nothing more than misinformation. You're not listening, you're not understanding, you're not the people you are against, and above all else, you are plague. The School of Life is the worst type of channel you can have on YouTube. Compared to the Nostalgia Critic, Cinema Sins, or even Seth the Programmer, many hundreds of thousands of YouTube channels that are bad, the School of Life is among the worst of them. The School of Life must stop. If of course you have your own opinion in the comments section, please write it down in the comment section, because that's what it's there for. It is designed for the purpose of indirect communication. Time. If you have a different opinion, perhaps you would like to say something, or criticise me for criticising the channel spreading misinformation and being a threat to all the human race in the future to come, just write it down in the comment section and I'll reply as soon as I can, or as soon as I could. In the meantime, I have a bit of researching to do for a future video. It will involve EM drive, ion drive, antimatter, deuterium, tritium or hydrogen fusion, and many other methods of propulsion. Might even get to use a bit more of my 3D pen. Spaceship. So, for the School of Life, please, for the love of God, stop. If you have a different opinion, please write it down in the comment section.